That's right.
All right, we are live. Call the meeting to order. Mr. Bowen, do you mind giving the invocation, sir?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman. Let's go to the Father. Lord, again, we thank you for this time that we come together, and we just ask for your presence, or most of all, we ask for your wisdom. We do ask for the healing there for Bill. I know he's feeling under the weather, and we ask for traveling grace for Bo as he can get here, and we just thank you for all that you do. Now be with us and guide us so we can take some more steps further forward for the county. And we ask all these things in Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Bowen. Let's give the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for that. And for the public, Mr. Collins is with us via telephone, speakerphone. You may not be able to hear him tonight, but we can repeat anything he may say for the public's viewing. And Mr. Toth has not made it here yet, and Mr. Collins is under the weather. And if he gets to coughing too much, we'll just mute it and move on. All right, I need a motion to approve the agenda for tonight, please.
Make motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Yes. All right, now, we had some, the plan was to do some landfill discussions, but the TRC is not here tonight. Is there anything we need to add before we move on to the blight ordinance, Mr. Bowman?
Mr. Chairman, I would like for the board to consider, not asking to make a decision tonight, but of course, the landfill discussions need to be moved until July. July 9th is when that will be the next work session. I am on family vacation that week. Haven't got a chance to talk to y'all about that, but I finally got a place we can lay our head down. I think Ms. Kelly wants to take some time off. So I'm asking, can we do a work session some other time in July? If we can figure out a date that suits y'all.
Okay, is the 9th on a Tuesday or Thursday?
Then that's on a Tuesday.
Okay. Are we moving our meetings to Tuesday night on the work sessions, or?
Remember we did it because of the school board?
All right. Okay. All right.
But we don't have any, I don't see why we can't go back to where we were. You know, everybody else, I have no problem either way.
Yeah, and the only reason why I'm asking that's because Tuesdays is the only day that I have off from the store.
Right.
So
You think about switching from a Tuesday to another day on the work session?
yeah.
All right. Well, let me maybe get Andrew to send some dates out, and then we'll try to figure. So Wednesday's not good for Bo. I know that. So it would have to be probably either on a Monday or a.
You're gonna be gone that week, Steve?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, sir. And we would have,
So let's say we could do it.
planning commission would be, let me see.
I'm pulling that up.
Okay.
Yeah, planning commission is the 16th,
16th?
which is the next Tuesday after that.
16th.
Okay.
I was hoping maybe we could do it sometime. If we got the EDC, Economic Development meeting, the 25th, so maybe the 22nd or the 23rd. But you were looking at something that day go again, maybe Monday the 22nd, if that's possible.
Yeah, because I mean,
To get you.
Monday's a good day to chunk a bunch of stuff in.
And that's
Just-
after our board meeting. Our board meeting's gonna be 18th.
But you talking about having a work session before the board meeting? Yeah. So it'd be the 15th. A lot of meetings that week, but I don't. Anyway.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. All right, well, I'll see if he can come the 15th, if that's possible.
July 15th?
July 15th. Mr. Collins, that's sound okay with you?
Yeah,
Okay, July 15th,
7 p.m.
And that'd be the work session.
next one.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for.
Is that, what day is that on?
It's a Monday.
Okay.
It's a Monday.
All right, well, on to the blight ordinance and,
So, Mr. Chairman, I know you have been asking for this for a while, and I apologize for trying to get this thing together. taking a little more time. And it's a little something different than it's been a learning curve for me. So I brought in Mr. Zodi on this, that he's had some experience, I think, in Bedford County.
Yes, sir.
And so when Mr. Collins had told me when him and I'm glad the sheriff's coming in now. Sheriff, come on, please sit at the table. Oh, God, like, I know what you walked in. But Mr. Collins had told me, he said, Steve, try to find something before we send it to Gary Elder. Something you can work off instead of developing one. So we thought this was a pretty good one. And, but I know some changes may need to be, but I wanted y'all to see that. And then I wanted this, the question is, how are we going to enforce it? And just, I don't know, just some round table discussions, because we need to get all these questions answered, Mr. Chairman, before we actually adopt this ordinance. So, and this may not be we may not finish today. I'd like to get closer, but I just feel like we need to get things in order. So I'm gonna leave the floor with Zodi, if you want to add something there, or.
Yeah, really the gist of this is.
Greg, if you don't mind, come to the table, so that way Mr. Collins can hear you.
Okay.
If you're all right with Mr. Chairman.
Can I ask if they're water free?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Hey,
Next to me though.
Yeah, you're drinking Phil Collins water. Phil Collins.
Oh, okay.
All right, the thing, I worked on this with the county attorney in Bedford County because we had an issue with meth labs and meth dealers and whatnot. And what we did is pulled the language from the state regarding blight and derelict structures. And one of the key things about this is that was for me to write to the owner of the property, and it was generally just a structure that was just uninhabitable or is just broken. It just looked like crap, to be quite honest, and just very unsafe. But that, we worked with the sheriff as well and his team to identify certain houses, and as well as legitimately derelict structures. I was telling Mr. Owen earlier today that we have an excellent example up in Big Island in Georgia Pacific, it's north end of the county. There's a beautiful old structure that has a grocery store, in the 20s, but it's about to fall about 75 feet on 501. And I reached out to the people, and in this ordinance says they've got 90 days to respond back with a plan of action, a legitimate plan of action, how they're going to, removal of it and whatnot. And then the building inspector will come in and make sure everything's good.
Right there, Greg, can I ask you a quick question?
You certainly
Is it is there something in there to say that they need to respond, say like within 3 to 5 business days or something, that they are in receipt of this?
Certified letter, mailing will take care of that.
Okay.
In my opinion. And one of the things I don't know if that's been up, one of the things is, okay, a lot of times it's going to be folks where it's not a drug den or however you want to phrase it. It could be owned by family who may not have the funds to demolish it. So, we need to consider that.
That was one of the questions I had. When you were saying that.
And, there's always the option of putting property on a lien or something like that. But is that the business we want to get into?
Have you ever thought about, I know the state has an option, it's called environmental justice. You can get grants. It's when the state requires you to do something and you've got a segment of society that can't afford to pay for it. So say everybody's mandated to get some kind of well, and if you can't afford it, then there are sometimes grant funds through the environmental justice program because they want everybody to be able to proceed. So maybe the state may have some kind of funding for
Well,
those.
with the housing situation we got now, I think the state probably has that. But let me ask another question, because I've got a property that abuts me, owned by my family. They live in North Carolina. It's a 1786 home. I had to board it up, windows and door, because vandals were coming and breaking in, and the original doors on that building, and the sucker kicked it in. it can't be repaired, but that's the original door. It's story and a half. Like I said, it's 1786. People didn't even know it was there until they cut the timber. Then they started asking me, how long's that house been there?
Mhm.
And so how would that be affected by this? Does somebody have to complain about it?
Yes.
Well, I don't think anybody complained about this one.
Right.
Well, and no, that's a good point, is how would we deal with it? And I think working in conjunction, with the sheriff's department, if they know something for us, we can issue that to the owner of the property.
But most of,
Go ahead,
I
Sheriff.
would say most of the similar ordinances I know of basically reference public view.
Right.
They reference public view. So like you said, if you don't get a complaint about it, or it's not in public view.
Like I said, people ask me, I didn't know that building, I didn't even know that was there. I said, well, it's been there since 1786.
And
It's behind where I live. And, they cut the timber beside me. They only cut half of the timber, then they came back 2 years ago, I guess, and cut the rest of the timber. So now you can see it. I've got a gate there. It's locked. It's posted. That didn't stop some people. Got a guy that shot a deal over there, and he did a little time for it. But it's got a 5-acre lake on it. I mean, it's a nice piece of property, 212 acres, I guess it is.
Yeah, I don't,
I'm just concerned, it's my family, and I would be concerned if somebody said, oh, well, y'all gotta do something about that house.
no, I
But
think,
again, public view too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they really, like, again, you gotta look,
Yeah, it's
know what's
trespass to see it.
and you also have to think about, whether it's an attractive nuisance and stuff, sort of like a swimming pool with kids. I do want to refer you all, we don't have to discuss it now because I know you all have a lot of other items on your agenda, but on page 3, it talks about how the county can recover any funds that we expend if they're working with us. So I think that's an important part to focus on. And I can, anytime you all have questions about that, I'm more than happy to help. And for the record, this is part of the building code, and my building official in Bedford County was getting ready to retire, and he is just done. And so I took that on. But normally this is something that goes in the building code. That's the section in Bedford County. That's why I highlighted this, so I can make those changes. And then we have other mechanisms. I believe that's through the fire code with regard to having people board up these derelict structures, but it doesn't resolve the issue. You're keeping trespassers out to an extent, but like you said, Mr. You're moving in the front door. But I think it's a matter of, I will get complaints, and I've got to investigate, take photographs of it and stuff, or Nicholas, and I'd be happy to work in conjunction with Nicholas.
Yes, sir. It would have to be structurally unsound too, I would think.
Yes, and that's something that's out of my wheelhouse completely, but I believe Nicholas and I make a really good team, as well with the sheriff. Sheriff's always been very responsive to any issues I might have. But it's something where, with the agricultural properties, we're an agricultural community, and I don't think I'm going to take like barns and silos or whatever.
Right.
Seriously. I really don't. We don't want to go there because while we might view it as a dilapidated structure, it might be part of a family's heritage. But when you have structures within the town or in neighborhoods in the unincorporated parts of the county, that does become a danger for the neighbors.
Well, you talking about the drug blight on page 3. Shouldn't would it be easier just to adopt a state code on that?
I think a lot of this is based on state code. How about if I get the state code and send it to everybody tomorrow?
Sure.
Okay?
So that's how y'all develop this in Bedford.
Yes, sir.
That's how y'all develop off the state code.
Yes. Yeah, that's where, in my opinion, we should always go. Is just see what state, since we're such a strict,
So,
building rules.
because if any of these things be written, we should write them on the state code anyway.
It has to be based,
Yeah. So
we wouldn't have done it just half.
Right. Yeah, because the other thing is, it's like.
Sir, oh, I'm sorry.
stress index in there where we were allowed to move their tax rates?
Now, is it, I thought it might have been on page 4, subsection D?
Oh,
I
yeah,
had to look at it
there's,
in the morning, so.
Every charge authorized.
yeah.
Is that it? Is that what you're looking for? Is
Well,
that-
that's the collection.
Yeah.
That's the collection part, but without having that, that code right there, I'm not sure if that suffices to what Mr. Collins is
I
asking.
believe once you establish this code, then you can add on an additional like ordinance that if this code is broken, then you can tax.
Code section 15.2900. Y'all might want to, that's where it's cited it here on page 2. Third paragraph down, my mistake, was 15.2-900.
Yeah, well, it says nuisance, so yeah, but then, there's 3 ways, including nuisance and criminal.
So regarding nuisance.
And see, that's the reason why I was concerned about the wording where it says drug blight instead of just using the state code where it says criminal blight.
Oh, just use what the state code says. Don't make your own.
So how do you establish criminal blight or drug blight? Do you have to arrest them first?
That's a good question.
Well, and that's one of the
Something that
things-
county
Yeah, the
attorney
sheriff and I
would
were
have to
talking about that
decide.
today. And so, like, when we were talking about return calls to service, you're going to have some issues because I don't know that we can enforce prior to adopt it. Okay, so then with that, once we establish this, the sheriff can establish a protocol with enforcement from that code at that point. And also, you're going to get those situations where you're going to have, you got to use some common sense once this code is adopted. In other words, like, if you've got medical calls for return of service, that's not criminal. If you've got neighbor after neighbor after neighbor, multiple calls about one address, fights, arguing, gunshots, stuff like that, now you're gonna fall on
But
that.
if the medical cause are drug related,
But yes,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
one,
Exactly.
that's like, if that's one address, I know one, maybe 2 people have passed away. But you're talking previous.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but it's not like it's not on their radar.
Right.
So, and that was the other reason why it may be simpler for us to get this adopted, to start moving quicker. I mean, not only is this about cleaning the county up, but we're also talking about the biggest revenue generator in the county, with the real estate taxes. So if they're cleaning it up,
So if it's rental property, the owner of that property
That's right.
is the one that has to pay.
Just like when there's a zoning violation and someone might be a renter in the house, I go to the property owner. And say, because they're, at the end of the day, they're liable, just like, with, like runoff, going into a creek or something like that, so it might be due to a farm or whatever. And it just, you have all this runoff going, and it's gonna comes back on the property owner.
well, and in all of this, everybody wants to be safe. Everybody wants to make sure everybody's paying their fair share of taxes and stuff. So, a portion of the county is not absorbing everybody else's, part as well as theirs. But, it doesn't fall on deaf ears that we understand people have drug problems. We can't fix that. There's programs out there, the court has them, there's voluntary programs out there. And I think all of us would encourage anybody, that first time you try it, that's your choice. Once you get to a situation where it's abuse and there's help out there, you gotta find a way to reach out or get somebody to reach out for you and get that. That's,
You gotta want it.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing.
that's right. And we're not numb to that. We're not ignoring that. But at the end of the day, we got to make sure our citizens are safe, and we got to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure that we don't have to raise taxes no more than we have to.
Right, and one other thing, while this, a lot of it has to do with drug flight and whatnot, it's also getting rid of these structures that are just beyond, I don't want to say beyond repair, because I haven't been inspection on these properties, but you know, it might give us an opportunity to get grant funding for rehabilitation.
That's right.
And because the people there may not be able to afford anything else, or it might be in a stock or whatever it is, not probate or something like that, because you have 2 or 3 dozen family members and no one can agree how to divide the assets. One of the first cases we had, it turned out the guy who was selling the meth and perhaps manufacturing, he was one of the owners, but there are 2 other owners. So who do you go after? You can't.
Have to go out to all of them, yeah.
Yeah, and
You gotta go after them.
And these are very, very good people, you know, in their 60s and 70s, and it was just, they hadn't been anything, they lived out of the area. But we have to think about those sort of, and every case is gonna be unique.
Well, Greg, to your point too, and I don't want to speak for Bill, but Bill, if I'm saying anything different than what you think, than what we had talked about, let me know. But I think we were really trying to focus this, because unless you're going to hire additional staff to do a 100% enforcement of this code, the focus is going to have to be on residential and commercial properties.
Mhm.
You know, you can't go out here in the county and tell people you need to cut your grass that's over 10 inches, because they're baling hay.
Yeah.
You know, their bonds and stuff, and I mean, they're already stressed. So we need to work on the main problems, health, safety, welfare for the citizens, but also recovering the best revenue we can on the residential.
Right, and, you know, and I'm, quite honestly, I'm not a big fan of maintenance codes, because there's a different standard, different norms, when you live in the country.
Mhm.
I mean, quite honestly, it's just, we can't impose urban values in the rural areas.
That's right. It's agriculture.
That's what happens when we have a lot of come-heres like myself.
Were you gonna say something, Bill?
Yeah, one of the interesting things that's happened, as Blackstone's worked through their blight and had pulled those old structures down, placed the lien, they then, I assume they auctioned them, but it may be that they do a deed of gift into one of the, like the Habitat for Humanity.
Yeah.
And then that is a brand new house gets built. So you went from something that wasn't contributing anything to the tax roll other than maybe the $100 by 200 lot to a new home.
That's right.
So a big difference. A place for somebody to live.
So to get this thing off the ground, let me see. All right, couple things. Y'all make sure I get clear direction. We got to make sure we understand this. Let me back up. Agriculture is completely out of it. Old tobacco bonds, we're not talking about that, right?
Yeah, agricultural structures, agricultural farm structure.
Sometimes you have a house out in the country that's zoned ag, but it's on a 2-acre lot.
Yeah, I know, I'm not,
It's falling in. That's a buildable lot. That's something
Yeah.
somebody could use.
yeah, it's a pre-existing non-conforming lot. We have a lot of those, y'all, maybe, y'all are aware of it, but we have a fair amount, a substantial amount of parcels in the county, in the ag zoning, which is 5-acre minimum lot size, that are pre-existing non-conforming. They're cut into, Carry Shop Road has a few, no offense against Mr. Ingram's district, but there's, I've visited one that did a NOVA letter, by somebody, they were written from, I think, their uncle or something like that. And it was like an acre. It just doesn't fit, and that's another issue for another day. But what Mr. Collins is saying is exactly right. I mean, we have some of these smaller lots. Some of them are maybe not even 100 feet wide, but they go like 600 feet up. And that's off of, I think it's Long Pine, that general area.
Lone Pine?
Lone Pine, thank you. And, but there's just some of these real narrow lots and stuff. And I see manufactured homes throughout the county. As a matter of fact, there's one in Lone Pine I went to go visit 2 weeks ago, because I've been hearing from a developer for a couple of years, and the person who's causing that issue is in prison or was just released. And
But I know where it's at.
yeah, I'm sure everybody knows where it's at, and it's just, you know, I have to get an attorney so I can charge the owners with allowing that to happen. It's not this person who's in the big house, but it was.
Well, don't we have the right to recoup that as well?
That I can't speak on.
Because I think unless you deem it abated, then like this order here, when I glanced, it said something about no charges or something like that. But if we get attorneys and stuff involved in that, any type of,
I
legal
see what you're saying.
expenses,
Yeah.
we need to be able to recover that.
And the board wanted to strike that about doing the leads and stuff like that on trying to recover, and that's the board's pleasure, but I don't, from my perspective, right now, today, we don't have the funds to do that. Right? I mean, I don't mean to speak for y'all, but it's just, to me, it's just, let's see how this goes, give a test run for a couple of years, and then, we can amend it as we go along, or as we find perhaps better methods to address it.
Yeah, well, we may not have a couple of years. I mean, we may have to just set a plan and say, look, we need to find the funding and work it into next year's budget. To putting this stuff, implementing it, and even if we need to put $50,000, $100,000 into this line item, we have got to be able to enforce it.
Yeah, and I mean, and there's a good example of what I'm doing is I just had a customer come in. She inherited her grandpa's property on Clear Creek, and there's a dilapidated structure up there, but it still has well and septic. I said, I can't issue you a permit to put your manufactured home there until you disconnect that and not make it a dwelling unit per the zoning ordinance code, which says you cannot have kitchen facilities or a bathroom. Well, it's got mold all over the place and they're storing stuff there. But at the same time, it's just, they're putting up a new house. I said, I'll give you a temporary use permit. I'm thinking maybe 6 months to get all the crap, all the stuff out of the structure, excuse me, get all the stuff out of the structure, all the inheritance, whatever. And then they have to remove the structure. I'm going to tie it to a demolition permit. And I told her that, you will be in violation. I don't want to do a violation, but we're replacing something better. I mean, replacing this dilapidated structure with something better. That's going to add value to the property.
That's right.
And I think the neighborhood as well.
Right.
So, that's sort of my approach, but those opportunities are far and few in between, but I do think they matter. And there's ways to do that through the zoning law.
Let's give Steve some clear directions on what did you need there, Steve?
So what I'm hearing is the term in public view does that need to be defined in here, or is that something assumed?
Well, if you can see, sure,
Yeah,
how do you
it's always-
define that?
Well, basically, again, the public view. If
you can see it from the street.
We driving down the road and we can see it.
Okay, so we don't probably have to put that. I guess what I'm saying, I don't need to get that deep in the weeds.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right, that's what I'll make sure. Drug blight versus criminal blight. If it says in state code, change the criminal blight,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, because that code section is gonna give you all three ways you can enforce it, including nuisance and criminal.
Is page 2 okay as far as the stress index that Mr. Collins had mentioned? Page 2, I believe it was in section I.
If that's correct.
Okay, so check that correct. Make sure that's the stress index, make sure that's the right code.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, 15.2-900.
Yeah, make sure that's the right code.
Okay.
And then Mr. Elder has it, and if he's actually looking at it now. So Greg, we'll get him to take a strong look at that and make sure we got it. And then hopefully we'll have it. I would like to try to get in this next week's board package. Well, no, it's gotta be, that's gotta be, we gotta have a public hearing.
We can do,
But we can do it for July probably.
yeah, we can do the public hearing in July and also have it ready to adopt.
So-
after that.
Yeah, because we got, this will go into
Go
the
to-
building code, so it's not gonna be a planning commission item.
Right.
So that'll help us.
So the goal is to let's do the public hearing in July, and then may have to make amendments after the public, we don't know, depending on the public breaks. Okay.
But I'll also, since this will be widespread, I think it just out of courtesies to notify each of the 3 towns and let them know.
So I want to go back to when you call it criminal blight. It means a condition existing on real property that endangers public health. Regular presence of the property of the persons in possession or under the influence of controlled substances. So you've got to go in there according to this and be able to prove that. Right? Okay.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, and
So-
also you get Buddy involved in that as well, because they require EMS calls, if they
EMS
use Narcan and stuff like that. If they need to call the sheriff's department in because they feel unsafe, any of that stuff like that.
And I know we talked about this before. Is there some type of log that you can keep for your dispatch? Where you've gone on a call and there's
Frequent flyers?
Yeah.
Well, that's what we were talking about. Once we get this
Yeah.
thing adopted,
Yes.
Yeah.
he
We'll
will
be
he-
able to register
he-
that
he will
and have
pull that.
you get.
See,
is
we
there
get
any
EMS
code for that
for
too?
Yeah.
So the goal is to reduce the calls out there eventually.
That's exactly.
I mean,
Exactly what we want
Go
to do.
That's
ahead
what
and
he
get rid of it.
Yeah, what
You get
what you're doing is charging the citizens of the county more, people send these people out there to them like all the time.
and I mean, it has nothing, and like I said, with the understanding that we're not being heartless about people that are struggling with drug use and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it has nothing but positives in this where it changes the property value. It helps safety and welfare of the citizens and even the ones that are using it, because it could possibly help them determine, you know what, here's an opportunity for me to go get clean and go get some help, go get some treatment.
Yeah, you gotta hit a drug bottom sometime, and, you know, that might be,
Yeah.
might be the opportunity.
Yeah.
All right. All right, Mr. Chairman, I think we're getting close. All right. And, yeah, thank you for, Rick, for doing,
Okay,
you know,
you're
getting involved. While if we could, and Sheriff, I might get you to stay here for a little while. I don't know why you got to get, since you're drinking, we gave you water. So,
Good job, Drew.
it won't take long. I wanted to back up, Mr. Chairman, I forgot to mention some of the landfill discussions. When we do have that meeting, it hit me it hit me that night, I need to invite the town representatives, because anything we do to that landfill it affects them eventually. You understand? And we made a mistake years ago of making some changes. I made a mistake of making changes without getting the towns involved.
How about Barfoot?
I ain't thought about that either. too, Mr. Chairman.
Prison.
So I might start off with the towns, let them come listen, and
We're
work
gonna-
ourselves out. But I just want to tell you, I probably need to get them at the table, because it affects their costs. Right? Eventually, they're not gonna be taking the trash for us. They're gonna be taking someone else, you know, if we go in this direction, you know, but anyway. But I want to throw that out there. So, if we want to move on to the animal shelter, Mr. Boswell, I did speak with him today. He is ready to sign the deed. He has contacted Mr. Elder. He did tell me that, and that he's ready to sign the deed over within the next, y'all have already given me direction to pay after I know the zoning is okay. And the first check will be to Mr. Boswell. The second check will be 10,000 retaining to the architect. And then the third step is that I will set up a kickoff meeting, and CARES will be at the table for that kickoff meeting. So that is my step 1, 2, 3 that I want to share with the board as far as the animal shelter.
Do you have a time frame on that?
If Mr. Boswell signs it and
Gotta record it.
record it, I'm hoping that building's gonna be ours in July, Mr. Chairman. That's what I'm hoping.
So we
Yeah, I
think
like
about
it.
maybe
I
a
like it.
kickoff meeting in August time?
Yeah, by August time, or something like that. And if you look at the clock, hopefully that would just take time for the architect part. And then, of course, you're looking at construction at the beginning of the year or something like that. I'm sure it's gonna take 3 to 4 months for the architect. I think, I don't know that. He might do it quicker than that. I don't know.
July could be
Busy.
a busy month, but with some good starts.
Right. So, Mr. Chairman, going with that, that's why this came up next. The part of the construction part is I need to get this IDA back together, Industrial Development Authority. I misunderstood. I thought it was 5 members, and then it was 7 members altogether, but I thought it was 5 districts, and then the other 2 members would be myself and the assistant county administrator, whoever at that time. But come to find out, I'm wrong. It's really 5. It's 7 members, and I don't think I think Ms. Kelly's still in. There's no rhyme or reason how many districts or who or what is it, Ms. Kelly? What you read it? Okay. It's just that they need to be appointed. So I'm gonna put this in the board package. I need y'all to have communication within each other. To each other. What we found out, the reason why a lot of people dropped out is because they have to do some type of financial statement.
Just like we do.
Right, and we had some good members on it who said, hey, that's too much of my business, and I want my business to remain my business. So if you out there recruiting and trying to talk to somebody, you gotta make it clear that they gonna have to share the finance statement. Now, so why is the IDA important? Yes, sir.
I have a question. So the supervisor board is the LRA. Can the supervisor board be the IDA?
No, I was told that can't be. It has to be separate because we are going to borrow money from the IDA.
Okay.
So the idea, Mr. Collins, is I get this IDA situated. They have somewhere in the neighborhood in a bank account of about 1.4 million and in another bank account, they got a checking account and we borrow money from them and we pay it back to them. But stays in our account. Anyway, and somebody asked me, Mr. Collins, where did the $1.4 million come from? It came out somewhere from that industrial park and crew, but I'm not exactly sure how they had set that up. In other words, I believe the IDA built, I want to say
The Hudson.
Colonial, right, built it, and then they came in and then they started making payments back. And so, right, they make payments and that's how that money accumulated. But that's why it has to be separate, Mr. Collins, I think.
Okay.
All right, so if y'all would take a look at that, and of course, the code is in there too with that IDA. But that will be in your board package, and of course, construction is not gonna start for a while, but I really need to get that group.
So what do you need is,
Resurrected.
you need two more?
It looks like here, there's only,
They're all, if you look at their terms, they've all expired.
there's another
The only
sheet,
one is a new one.
there's another sheet that shows one person not expired, and Miss Kelly. No, she's at Miss Green, I'm sorry. Miss Green is the only one who hadn't expired. Jackie Green office at the very top. I'm sorry, thank you. I didn't look up that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 7 people that was before, and we just put Miss Green at the top. So these are the people who served before, but like the bottom, like the two at the bottom, without saying any names, they resigned because we just talked about it.
Well, why don't you ask the other 5 that have done it previously, so we've got some experience, and then we're just looking for 2 then.
All right, so I'll get direction from the board and start making some contacts. Oh, you okay with that?
Yeah, I've got one,
So,
but she's in a different district, so I'll talk to that supervisor about.
so if all these one in white, if the 5, if they want to, then you got Miss Jackie Green August, we'll only be looking for one person, is what you're saying, Mr. Collins?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, all right. I would have something to you guys about the board, that will be on the agenda, Mr. Chairman, and I'll have that on it, okay. All right, I need to make some phone calls, all right. The, Chairman, I don't know where we at here.
Oh, we on the,
Oh, we almost finished up.
Yeah.
So the reason why I asked, he's over there wondering why am I still sitting at this table? Well, there's a reason why he's over here. So I think the school has, I don't know, the school has a conversation that there's another, this is stuff that I have not been able to talk to y'all about because this keeps coming in. There's a possibility we could get another grant for an SRO, school resource officer.
Well, we applied for, we do have the grant has been approved,
Right.
so.
But I wanted y'all to be aware that we have grown to 6.
That would be 6 SROs.
Right.
2 at the high school, basically.
Right.
I have a supervisor at the high school. He supervises all the other ones. Like when they take a day off, he'll go to that school and all. And plus a whole lot goes on at the high school. A whole lot goes on at the high school.
how long was that grant good for?
It should be 4 years. 3. Well, I'll have to make sure. I was told it was 4 years. Initially.
Don't it deteriorate?
Yeah,
It'll get each
yeah,
year?
it goes down each year. It goes down each
County
year.
has to supplement.
Yeah.
And we're at the
And
end
then
of
we
the
had the other
first one.
2, well, the other 2, Deputy Sawyer and Deputy LaSure, their grant ran out. Cause they initially went to schools 4 years ago. Their grant ran out. I applied for and got an extension on those. And I'll have to verify if that's another 4 years. I thought it was, but I've been told it might be just, they continued it for 1 year.
Okay,
So this year, again,
but anything helps.
yeah, anything helps. And I'm on, like I said, I stay on the grant.
What'd you say, Bill?
What'd you say?
So there was additional funding after the initial 4 years. You just have to stay on.
Yeah, keep applying. Yes, sir.
Okay, I didn't follow the question, yeah.
But anyway, you know, this is stuff that didn't come up in some of the financial discussions we had. And I just
didn't-
wanted
yeah, I
y'all to
didn't
be
put that in
aware
the
of it.
budget.
Yeah,
I just applied for the grant. Just,
but now you got it.
I've got it.
Great.
I don't have to take it, but I got it.
The other thing I wanted y'all to be aware of in communications, and this had nothing to do with sheriff, I gotta be careful. Sometimes I speak for y'all and I shouldn't, but sometimes I think I kind of get an idea of how y'all are thinking through conversations. I had one department head who had asked for 3%, but also asked for $1,500 for one employee, I don't know, $800 for another employee. And we took that out and I didn't ask y'all. Because I didn't even know if you were gonna do the 3%. I mean, in other words, to me, that was more money than I expected. And I'll tell you, it was Miss Walters. So anyway, I should have probably asked you before, you know, but I didn't. I just didn't include that in the budget.
No, I think
If you want to do the 3%, if you're not even sure you would do the 3%, I didn't see why you would even consider giving 3% plus 1,500 for certain departments and nobody else.
Yeah,
So
no,
that's anyway. I just wanted to communicate that with y'all.
No, I
And
think-
apologize.
no, as far as I stand, I think you'll read from the board was probably right on that.
And little things are happening, like now we did get an electric bill for the bowling alley, which is $300 some. So just know, man, that we don't have anybody in there. We got to keep electricity to it. So, but we are trying to meet with Ms. Walters by the next step, and without getting into the details, but and after that, after we know something, I'm hoping that we'll have decided. Where I'm hearing and Mr. Collins and the board, y'all are looking at possibly auction it off, right? What we thinking about?
Nationwide auction.
Okay,
Reserve.
okay, and that's pretty. The other thing, I'm not asking the decision. I sent this to the finance committee. It's late. I don't want to assume anything, and I don't want to look like I'm sneaking in anything, but it is with the way the timing felt. They interviewed for the when I sent y'all the papers showing what positions to freeze, the one at the very bottom was the guy that cuts grass and things like that at the LRA. And they had already interviewed and they can offer it, but I said, don't offer anything. And the person will start in June. If y'all want to, if you say, hold up, Steve, hold up, but I didn't want to look like I was sneaking in somebody at the end of I don't play that. I don't do it that way. I want the board to be aware. And I don't have a backup plan if we don't hire a person, but I wanted y'all to know that.
All right, if we're freezing, we're freezing.
Right.
Ain't that right, Bill? Ain't that what you think?
What was you said, freeze it?
I said, if we're freezing, let's freeze it all. I mean, I think,
We have. I
Yeah,
mean,
Even freezing for the next budget.
There were only 2 others that were already hired, so we have to stop that, but
Yeah, if the offer hasn't been made, I think, the board decision was to cut it. Our citizens have asked us to cut, so.
Okay, all right, I'm I will tell them to hold up and thank y'all for applying and it's just, they did pick somebody actually, and they would start next week, but anyway.
They made the offer that
I think they picked somebody, I don't think the offer's been made, Mr. Collins.
we need to hold
It's
it.
just a matter of timing, it's timing.
I know, but the LRA director called me today and I said, stop, I don't want to be sneaky around the board. I'm not gonna do that. Let's freeze it, and it was on the freezing list,
well, I mean, there was others that was advertised too from other departments and those are frozen as well, right?
Well, except for the ones that, oh shucks, comp board funded, I think that's not the case. One of them I can't do anything about it, I don't think, Mr. Roy.
I mean, if it's comp board funded, that's one thing.
Yeah, right.
But what I'm saying is that there's county funded positions out there that could be an advertisement.
Yeah, I think the one who's taking the blunt more than anybody, and not the LRA, is the sheriff is taking the blunt on that one, the biggest hits.
We talked about it and it's, the position LRA unfortunately doesn't affect mandated services. So it's just, it's the way it is. And
All
the
right,
sheriff is willing to he said they'd make do, so we're gonna make do.
All right, I'll plan accordingly and we'll make operations work with that deposition. That's what I'll stop it tomorrow. Okay. Sir, that's all I have.
All right,
That's all I
well,
have.
thank you, Mr. Bourne.
Yeah.
Mr. Collins, you got any, comments, sir?
Well, like always, we want to treat all the departments the same, and, our citizens have asked us to tighten our belts. So we have cut positions, we level funded. I think we've done the best we can with what we had, so we appreciate citizens talking.
All right, and, public, and just for the public, Mr. Collins said that, that we hear you, you've asked for cuts, you asked us to tighten our belts, we level funded with, we're not extending any, on new positions or anything like that, so I just want y'all to know what he was saying there, in case you couldn't hear him. Mr. Ingram, you got anything, sir?
Yeah, I got a couple of things. Is this meeting coming up next week when we adopt the solar ordinance? Isn't that in the time frame?
Greg had left. I did not put it on the agenda. I can put it on the agenda, Mr. Ingram, if that's your pleasure. I do know if the board has decided to make any changes, I thought maybe y'all wanted to work, if they decided to make any changes, depending on this,
See,
depending on how much change it is, you gotta do another public hearing.
well, what I'm saying is, I think there's a time limit on we had the joint public hearings. And there's a time frame that you gotta act.
Can't remember, was it 60 days?
It's either 60 or 90, I can't remember.
From my understanding is, my understanding it was for the planning commission, not the board. But that's what I can call Mr. Zuppi now and ask that question. Let me get that answer.
See,
to
we
you.
had a joint hearing with both.
Right.
Planning commission and the board.
But I think that rule, I will answer your question. I will answer your question to find out, but I was told, and I don't know who told me, and I'd rather have a lawyer had told me, and I don't think a lawyer told me that, but I'm 99% sure that, the board can postpone that as long as they want to. The planning commission got to respond.
Yeah, if planning doesn't respond, then it's approved.
Right. So let me get y'all, I will answer that question. So,
I thought the planning commission had approved it.
They did.
yeah, the planning commission approved it within the 60 days. Okay, the board took no action. And the board, I don't think is under that same, I'm 99% sure I was told that they're not under that same 60-day deadline.
Okay.
But I will verify for that and send you that in writing.
I'm getting a little antsy.
All right, so going with that, do you want this on the agenda? Or do y'all want a work session to talk
I
about it?
think we should. We drug it out long enough. It's time to rubber meet the road, make a decision, move on to something else.
Okay. Okay.
All right, put it on the agenda.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ingram. And I hope, let me make sure, I'll put it on the agenda, Mr. Collins, but before then, I'll still make sure you guys got an answer to that question. Anyway, okay?
I got one other thing. I think I spoke to a couple of people here, but Bill, I spoke to one of the foresters, and he did receive the packet that, was mailed out. We had the LRA meeting, they said no one had responded yet. He told me he's working on it. One of his concerns, and I'm sure all the rest of them will have this, and he said he was told that if he bid out some timber, it had to be cut in 60 days. And he says that's usually not the way timber, companies work. They will sign a contract and they're given a time frame that they can cut it during that time frame. So in other words, he says if you sell $500,000 worth of timber to somebody, and they're going to try to catch the market at the right time. I know when I sold mine, they had a 2-year time frame. After 2 years, and they didn't cut it, then it would revert back to me, and I had the money too.
That's the typical, it's so weather and market dependent that 60 days, I've never heard of that.
Well, he said after it was marketed and you pick somebody to cut it or was going to buy it from us, that he had been told, I guess, Mr. Hawkins told me he wanted to cut within 60 days. And I told him, I said, no, that was not our intent. Our intent was,
Because when we get 5-inch rainstorms,
right,
And our intent is also to and Mr. Collins, y'all make sure I'm telling you right. Our intent was also to establish a long-term relationship with this person.
yes, that's right, and that,
And
that's
and
his-
help manage the timber like we should.
that's him.
Yeah, I don't recall 60 days ever being mentioned.
Well, it wasn't mentioned by us.
Okay, all right.
See what I'm saying?
But, okay.
His idea, I think, the impression was we're gonna cut the timber and clear it so we can have somebody in there in 60 days, and that's not the case. That's not our, I told the person I talked to on the phone, I said, no, that's not right.
Do we need to look at that package that was sent out and make any corrections? Let's do that.
Yeah, I'll send an email to Mr. Hawkins and say that that's not, if that's not what it just.
I don't know if it's in the packet or not. He just said he had been told that. And he said, that's not the way these timber companies operate.
I think Cinderella would like to have the money. in 60 days,
Well, you
but-
get the money.
Right.
The problem is, no, they pay you the money up front,
Right.
but they want to have a time frame
Oh, yeah, I get
that
it.
they can cut it within that time frame.
That's hard to do that, weather depending.
Exactly, that's what he said. Well, you got weather, you got market conditions, you got the whole 9 yards. So, I think maybe somebody misunderstood saying we wanted to make a place for business to come in right now. And that was not our intent.
No, it's not.
So, I just want to get that out there.
And one of the places they were talking about cutting the timber, it was Zodi had already left again, but anyway, they pulled back. That we had a prospective person out there. I don't know, y'all seen the email, but
Right.
that deal didn't go through. So I don't know how that got twisted. But anyway, I'll rectify that, Mr.
Right,
Daniel.
just make sure,
Yes,
you
sir.
know, I don't know what's in the packet, I hadn't seen the packet either, but the gentleman told me he started working on it, and he was when he got through, he was gonna hand deliver it to Mr. Hall.
Okay.
I'll talk to one other one, he's got his package and is working on it too.
Okay. All right. That's good though. That's good. That's good news.
Okay, Ms. Morton?
Mr. Bowen, did you get a chance to follow up? I know in our last meeting, we were talking about a lot of people didn't get items that were mailed to them. Have you had a chance to maybe follow up with the post office about that?
No, and I'm trying to. So I did ask, where did our mail go? It's Sandston.
Yeah, that's where it
So-
goes.
That's where it goes when we
I-
share.
Where it goes.
It was just concerning because we had talked about we sent out bid packages and things like that and nobody seemed to get them.
That's why
I'll get a solid answer for you, Ms. Norton. The reason why I got to really more than anything, we owed, because of the Davenport was assisting us, we owed them $50-some thousand. We mailed them a check May 3rd, and they still haven't got. I talked to Ms. Presley today, and she said I'm gonna have to put stop payment on that. And so let me see if I can find out what is happening here. But Sandston, that's a long way.
That's the mail distribution center. Everything
Okay.
goes there, and they send it out.
But
You
what I
sell
would,
it, then you send it out.
Yep, then they send it out.
if you don't get an adequate response, we may have to go to the expense of sending things out.
Yep.
Where we send them
By carrier.
certified mail or
By
carrier.
something like that.
And the other thing too, White, since you brought that up, I talked to Buddy today. We need to get something in like solid as far as when we give the fire departments their checks. And so the decal money is due now, the 50,000 a piece. It was really
Mm-hmm.
they should have got it probably back in April. And so we talked about, so what I said, Buddy, let's do me a favor, when the finance committee is gonna still get back together. We're gonna continue. I'm gonna invite you to the meeting and we'll get something in place. So these volunteer organizations aren't waiting for their check.
Right.
We can probably establish some sort of calendar
Yeah,
long-term with the treasurer to make sure we're all on board sending it out.
And just like the other check for 50, 60,000, I think Mr. Rourke was a big instrumental in getting that extra money to him. Like I told myself, like October Fire Prevention Week, maybe that's when we send that check, and then
Right.
we'll figure it out. But I told him, let's get in front of the finance committee and get something in place so the treasurer knows that's coming down.
Well, and we all know that a lot of times that money was being held to collect, interest on it. But at the same token, if it's sitting in the departments, they can collect the interest on it. So it's still, we are still
Right.
collecting interest. It's just
Who's getting it?
Yes, that's right. So it's still beneficial by going on and doing that.
Right.
But do we have any, I mean, I'm just asking, suppose if I don't get a good answer from the post office, do we have any,
There's
can we,
no-
can we,
there's
can
no
we take behind the
recourse.
woodshed? We
There's
can't.
no recourse. But
I
that
can't
way,
figure how you.
I feel sorry, look, I feel sorry for the local postmaster.
Cause they probably,
They're the ones
they
that
get
get-
complaints.
They're the ones that catch the grief, but it's not their fault.
but we'll just have to determine another course of action to do things.
Right.
Instead of depending on-
I mean, Davenport, think about it, Davenport has actually got an office in Farmville. I could have delivered the check by now. You with me?
Yeah.
And deliver while going to Piedmont Regional Jail, stop by and give them the check.
Well, if you do it electronically, you can get up
Yeah.
in time.
Well, that's another thing too. Yes, sir, Mr. Collins, I'm sorry.
We can do ACH on our common, page.
Mhm.
We just set it up. We send money to the jail, we send money to Davenport, we send money to St. Anne's.
Okay.
ACH, yeah. That's a great idea.
So,
Bill.
okay. All right, and maybe this would be a good way to start, because they need, if they owe a month. Davenport is important to me right now, not everybody agrees with that, but they're important to me right now because, with this radio system, they're helping us to get some of these, this VGA loan. And, but anyway, all right, thank you, sir.
My last, thing is the budget. You all know we worked really hard with this, and I am still amazed. I've only gotten one phone call. And that person said, I don't like it, but I know you have to do it. So I wanna put it out there. If anybody doesn't understand it, I'll be glad to go over it and show you the numbers and show you what we don't have. And that if current practices continue, we're going to be broke. So we are doing all we can to avoid a train wreck.
I hate to butt in, but I had conversations with several people over the weekend, and every one of them said, it is what it is. They understand. I told them, I said, we just don't have a choice. And they were very supportive, said, we know y'all got your hands full. But I've had one text, no call, one text. Everybody else that they've come up to me and really said, we know y'all in a bind and we understand what's going on.
I have had, remind me, I did get a text, and it's all related. They try to relate it to national politics, and we can't go that.
No, well, they didn't have things.
What's here is here.
So,
We can't relate it to national politics.
so being completely transparent to, Mr. Roy, he got some of the information that y'all at the work session, but he didn't get to his, I think Ms. Kelly gave him his rest of his information today. So he has not seen the same things that y'all have seen, because he wasn't at that.
Right.
But I just wanted to make sure.
I'll be glad to sit with you and talk to him. And because
All right, well, and Mr. Hyde, this just came from the meeting that, yourself and Mr. Bowman and myself attended, all right?
They wanted to give it to you.
All right, well, since you gave it to me in an open meeting, I'm gonna read it. All right, so it's from the Civil Affairs Team, 224 Bravo Company, 92nd Civil Affairs Battalion, Special Operations Airborne. It's a certificate of appreciation presented to the Board of Commissions of Nottaway County, Virginia, for your time and knowledge shared with Special Operations Civil Affairs Team 224. Your vast knowledge and experience of emergency management greatly benefits the team and enable us to better serve partner communities in Eastern Europe. Your service and support is invaluable to the 92nd Civil Affairs Battalion, Special Operations Airborne, given this day, the 11th of June, 2024, signed by the team leader, Michael Anderson, and Team Sergeant Elijah Zieg. And of course, the sheriff was there as well. Appreciate everybody making an effort there. And there was some folks there from other partners of ours, including the chief, Blackstone, and Mr. Falwell, the gentleman from
Fort Barfoot.
Fort
yeah.
Barfoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've only met him twice, but very knowledgeable in emergency issues and stuff like that. And again, just thank everybody for everybody's hard work, and I hope everything is well with Mr. Toth. And Bill, I hope you get better, but if you don't, keep that mess to yourself. But yes,
John,
all right, if you, but
the
if,
report you have will not have the frozen positions on it, I don't believe.
was that,
The
The
information.
report you have won't have the frozen positions on it. We
I-
talked about that after that meeting.
Right, did you add that to that, Ms. Kelly?
No, sir, it was an email.
Oh, that's good, and that's another thing too. But our chairman his iPad is messing up, so he don't have that either, I'm sorry. All right, so, we gotta get his iPad back and reboot it or whatever they call it, we gotta do something with it. But anyway, we gotta get that back, sorry about that, Mr. Chairman. Anyway, I forgot, thank you, Mr. Collins, I forgot about that too.
well, if there's nothing else, Mr. Collins, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
All right. All in favor signify by standing up.
All right. Get better, Bill.
And hanging up.
Yeah, what happened to my man Bo tonight, you ready?